Hello everyone, a very warm welcome to you all. Today in this video we'll be looking at functions, basically how to declare a function, what are functions used for. We're looking at three things to do with functions. We'll look at how to write a function that reads from the state, write to the state, and how to write a function that performs calculations. So having said that, let's jump right in. Let's go over to Remix IDE to see how this is being done. So yeah, here we are. Let's quickly create a new contract, right, called function.sol. So having said that, let's set the compiler version to greater than 0.8.20. Then once that is done, we want to set the contract keyword and basically call this function. And yes, so let's take a look at this. Let's want to write a function that reads from the state. Okay, so we're writing a function that also writes to the state, right, and also a function that performs calculations, right. So before we jump right into writing all of these functions, so we need an actual state variable so we can read from it and also write to it. So let's quickly declare our state variable to be counter. Right. So now that we have the state variable are those variables that we declare at the top or at the beginning of our contract. So the first thing to do is to declare the function keyword. Then you write the name. In this case, let's call it get counter. Then your parenthesis, which takes in your argument. And for this particular get counter function, will not be imputing any argument. Then you have to insert the function visibility. Now in this case, we declared it public. This means that any contract or any account can call those function when it's being deployed. The other visibilities also like internal, private, external. So once we declare a function to be external, it means that other accounts or other contracts can call the function or the contract. So when we declare a function to the private, it means that it's only accessible to the contract, right? And once we declare a function to be internal, it means that only the contract and any contract inheriting that contract can use the function specified as internal. I hope that makes sense. Also, we can declare this to be view, right? So this basically means that we want to read from the states and we are not changing or modifying the states, right? So now the next thing we want to set is the returns. Basically means that we want to return certain variable. Here we are specifying the data type of the variable, in this case a unit. And now what we have to do is just to use the return keyword, just like we have it in JavaScript, and set this to counter. Right, so this is pretty much how to write a function that reads from the state. Right, so moving forward, let's write the function that writes to the state. So the first thing is to declare the function keyword. Let's call the name, let's call this set counter. Right, so now we want to add or want to update the counter state variable. Now let's add in an argument with the new value we want to pass in. Let's call this public and basically our curly braces. Now we take note, we didn't declare view or returns because we are not trying to view from the state or either return any value, but rather we want to update the state. So let's quickly assign this new counter value to the state variable counter. Right, so this is pretty much how to write to the state. Now lastly is how to perform calculations. So to perform calculations, basically you declare the function keyword, the name. Let's call this add. And because we want to add, we have to pass in the different variables that you want to add. And in this case, let's pass in x, and also let's pass in y as the argument. Let's call this public. Now we have to set the function modifier to pure. In this case, it works just like view, but in this case, just for function arguments, right? We are only reading from function argument and not from the state. So let's declare our returns. Right? We want to return uint, then our curly braces. And in this case, we want to add x plus y, right? And pretty much it. So this is how to like write a function that reads from the state, writes to the state, and also perform function. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, let's quickly deploy our contract. So now that we have our contract deployed, let's explore right? So let's call on the get counter, which waits from the state variable, right? If we have 0, so this is so because our counter state variable is uint and the default value of the uint is 0, right? So let's also try to update the state by setting this to a new figure. Right? Once we try to get it again, we have 100. So pretty much how to read and update the state. Now let's try to perform a calculation. Let's call this 1020 and let's click on the add button. So we have 13. Yeah, so pretty much in this video we have been able to learn functions to read from the state, write to the state, and also perform calculation. Thank you for watching this video and see you in the next video.